You're listening to In Sumter with Sarah Jane, a show about celebrating Sumter, a part of the Item Podcast Network, presented by SKF.
They sit in the stand and they're like rounding second, blah blah blah.
Oh, I did some. I did radio in college.
Oh my Lord.
So I was like the halftime guy.
Oh, my daddy's calling me now.
I'll talk to
He's
him.
gonna have to get back to me now.
No.
Sorry, Dad.
Sorry, Mark.
I got a sister he can call. So okay, cool. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh wait.
What happened?
Oh, here's my cheers. There you go. Hey, you're in Sumter with Sarah Jane, and I'm here with Vince Johnson today, publisher of the Sumter Item newspaper. Is that the official title?
That's the official title. It's kind of
Cool.
kind of an outdated title. I mean, but it's the title.
Tell me about the outdatedness.
You already want to know about this?
Yeah, I already
Okay.
want to know about it. When someone presents an opportunity.
So
freaking take it.
yeah, I've been called a publisher,
Okay.
but I don't really publish anything.
I
It's
wonder
more
what you do.
It's more of like a general manager. It's more of like the editor. You've got the editor. Normally you've got
Okay.
an advertising director, a circulation director, and they report to me, head of a business office. So it's more of like a general manager than a publisher. A publisher sounds like I'm working the presses all night, and that's just not me.
That is what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Because one of the questions I came up with was, without saying the word publisher, what's your role at the item? So there you go.
General manager.
General manager. Would
Yeah.
you like me to change it on your business cards?
No, I like the ambiguity of publisher and people not really knowing what it is. But
Nice.
normally people think when they hear editor
Yeah.
in a newspaper setting, and they think the editor is in
Does all the
charge
things.
of the newspaper.
Yeah,
and an
'cause-
editor is obviously a huge role.
When I first met you guys, I was like, oh, cool. And then Kelly's like, I'm the editor. And I was like, ooh, she your boss, though. No.
She's not, but I mean, Kayla would be a great boss. So
She would be a good
Yeah.
boss. I think she likes doing what she does, though.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have our own roles for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What's your favorite thing about what you do now?
What is my favorite thing about what I do now? It is working the different angles, because it's always different.
Yeah.
So there's always issues that come up. Sometimes there are delivery issues. Sometimes there's some sort of article we ran in the paper that's interesting. Sometimes we're just coming up with new ideas and finding new ways to interact with
Lots
the
of problem
community.
solving.
Lots of problem solving, and it's always different. So that's what's kind of unique
Well,
about it.
what's your goal here at the paper?
What's my general goal? That's a big question.
I know. It just came to me, though.
So our general goal, I would say, is to just connect with the community as much as possible. We want to be the place where they come to from the moment that the community comes to from the moment they get up throughout each day, and maybe they check it right before they go to bed. So when people think of a newspaper, you think a lot of times you think of a physical product. But I really don't think of us as one sole physical product. I think of us as an information hub, as sometime an entertainment hub for the local community. So that's what I would think of when I think of what we do here.
Yeah, I definitely think of it as a networking hub
Yeah.
here. So I find myself coming here for a lot of different reasons. I'm like, oh, what's going on with the seniors? What's going on with the thing? And then I'm just checking it over and over again. Whole bunch of different stuff.
Whole bunch of different things we're writing. Our staff is writing dozens of stories and producing dozens of videos several videos every day.
I have another question. Yeah. It's about money. Can I ask you about money?
I mean, I don't promise to answer it, but sure.
Okay. So I read an article last week about, gosh, I'm so embarrassed that the name flew out of my New York Times. I was about to say the big newspaper in New York.
Yeah,
okay,
that
New
one.
York Times. Yeah, that one. They've just done a couple things. So they've done a lot with media and print, and they broke down where all their revenue comes from, and the majority of it still comes from print.
Yes.
How about here?
Completely.
Okay.
100%. And so it is. I mean, that is every newspaper across the country, and the New York Times is probably more digitally based than local newspapers. So, and this is pretty much true in small to mid-sized newspapers across the country, and it's certainly true here. We're about 70% advertising and 30% consumer revenue. So that's subscriptions. And so that's pretty much what every newspaper across the country, that's the way our revenue is split, and that's the way we fund our journalism.
Yeah, I like it. And that obviously lends itself to the next point of like why it's important. And I hate to lob you softballs because I just, I have this need to give you a hard question, but here we are with the softballs.
So why is journalism important?
Yes.
Journalism is important. I feel like I'm going to be on a commercial.
Yeah.
Journalism is important because...
Coming to you live from the Sumter Item.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a local news source, more people participate in public events, there's more public participation in government, and there's generally, I mean, there's studies all across the country that show that communities are, it's both an economic driver and communities are generally happier and safer and all that with a quality local news source.
I like that happier aspect. I really feel that since you guys have come and since I've taken more of an interest in the item, I don't know what it was like before because you got here not long after I got back. So, but I feel like it's had an impact. When I say you, I mean like the three of you, Micah, Kayla, and you, Vince. Like I feel like y'all come as a package deal. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I feel like there's a whole lot more community involvement because I feel like the item is a place that you can go to, like the best of event. Who's the best person for such and such? Like you've provided that resource. So when there's an event, like what's going on? Like I can go to the item to check those events out. And so it's, if I'm going on Facebook to look for an event, one of the first places I go is the items.
Well, everyone wants to, I mean, just in life, everyone wants to feel belonging. I mean, everyone wants community. Everyone wants belonging. And so if we can provide that for our readers and for our advertisers and connect everyone. And of course, with the item, we're locally owned. All of our employees work here, shop here, eat here. And so the money goes right back into the community. And so when I'm advocating for spending dollars locally as a local advertiser or subscribing to our local newspaper, I'm advocating for let's keep this money flowing inside our own community. There's plenty of, like we can all get our own Netflix account or, do what we do on Facebook and different places like that. But we really need to prioritize our local community, shopping local, eating local, supporting local, and I know you do a ton of that.
Well, and the which we've talked before about taxes and how that works and bringing stuff here. And what were we talking about? That like shopping local makes such a big difference. And then I asked you what the difference was if you ordered from the local Walmart versus if you ordered from Walmart online or if you ordered from Amazon.
Yeah, I read something not too long ago that, or heard it somewhere, that if you shop local in a local store, about 75% of that money goes back into the local economy. But even if you go to one of the big box stores in town and you shop there, it's, I don't remember the exact number, 25 or 35% of that goes back into the local economy. And if you get your product shipped to that store, then the store gets local credit. And I'm not 100% verified on this.
We're not fact check you on this.
Okay.
Somebody out there will.
I mean, as a news source,
I'm not going
this
to.
is what I've heard.
Okay.
But if you get the product delivered straight to your house from Amazon,
it cuts out all the local everything.
It cuts out the local. So as much as you can, I mean, we're obviously advocates for shopping local.
Obviously, because that's where 70% of your revenue comes from.
From the advertising.
We're going to want those people to do really well.
And to be clear, that's local and national advertising.
You have national advertising?
Sure, we have big box stores that advertise. Now, since COVID-19,
cool.
and they run those inserts in the paper.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
So
Are you connected to a network of other places that it runs?
So on Wednesdays and in the weekend edition, we do have those inserts that go. And we do, in a lot of the big box stores will do statewide buys, but they buy for most newspapers in South Carolina. But it is no secret nationwide that those numbers are dwindling quickly across the country. And
Which numbers?
The national insert advertising.
Oh, yeah.
So those have been dwindling for over a decade now. And since COVID-19, I mean, a lot of those stores actually closed their doors, at least for a short amount of time. So we're not getting that anymore. So we're even more reliant on local than we have been in previous.
This gives us a good segue. We, on the show, we've been trying to spotlight some local restaurants, and J. O'Grady's is providing your beverage tonight. Thank you, J. O'Grady's. And they're doing curbside right now. You can socially distance inside at the bar. They've got like spaces set up. So while we were talking about food and beverage and things shutting down, support your local restaurants. J. O'Grady's is open.
I will support them directly following this podcast.
Are you really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I really will. I've got to pick up some food too.
I like that you're like, I'll support them. I'm also probably going to get some food. I'm going to switch topics because I can, because it's my thing. Somebody, I asked a whole bunch of people on Instagram to ask you questions.
Oh my gosh.
And so a lot of people responded. Some responded with the same question. So there's one, most surprising thing about Sumter.
So we moved to Sumter about 2.5 years ago. We moved from north of Atlanta, in a bigger suburb. And so we just didn't know much about what to expect. I mean, we were coming here for this job and take a 125-year-old family-owned newspaper and try to really take it to the next level, take it into the digital age, just try to make improvements where we can. But I mean, what's been exciting about Sumter is just how much fun it is. I mean, like, honestly, because we just didn't know it would, relatively small town. I've lived in small towns. I've lived in big towns. But just how much we would enjoy the people and enjoy the restaurants and the nightlife and the events when we get to have them and, all of that.
Well, I love hearing that. And Katie and I have definitely enjoyed you and Brooke and hanging out and
oh, yes.
doing all the things.
Yes, doing all the things.
We have an year anniversary today. We took our first road trip to Charleston together.
That's been
a year today. Isn't that crazy?
We went to Stars and Strikes.
Yeah.
A year today.
A year.
Yeah.
Feels like yesterday. Okay, another question.
I did not bowl well that day.
Neither did I, but I think we had some help not bowling well. Favorite music?
I really don't listen to music.
Are you an NPR person?
No, I'm more a sports talk radio kind of person.
Okay. Katie's an NPR person. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't. It's been consistent throughout my life. I've never listened to music, and people don't like it very much. But I'm not here to be popular.
Give me your best sportscaster voice. Do the thing again.
Who's that? Is that from somebody online?
We're rounding second. Come do the best version. Come on, do it. Mind the volume. Lean back when you do it.
So when I was, do you know this story?
No.
When I was 19,
Definitely
I was in college.
Don't know this story.
I went to Atlanta from Birmingham. I went to Sanford and Birmingham. Went to Atlanta, slept all night outside the ESPN zone in order to get into the building.
Yes, I did know this story.
To be the next Sports Center anchor on ESPN Dream Job. I was the first person in line.
They're hating it now. Sorry, ESPN. We got him.
I made it through. I don't remember what I actually had to say, but I was trying to, mimic Dan Patrick and Stuart Scott and all those guys. And I made it to, ESPN flew me to New York as one of the finalists.
Nice.
I didn't make it on the show, though. I got cut because they said I had 2 years of college left, so they would not let me on. But
Jerks.
it was an entertaining moment in my life.
Do you think that the audio clip's out there somewhere?
Just probably me. There was one on the show where I was just going da 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 the Sports Center real loud, It was really embarrassing. And now it's embarrassing once again, just later in life.
We all have those moments. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll support local about it later. Favorite Sunday activity, which I feel like I know the answer coming up now.
Well, I mean, I love live sports when they're on. My favorite actual Sunday activity is my late afternoon Sunday nap. I like doing things in the morning and then Sunday nap.
Like, do you like to wake up and just do that just for the refreshing feeling of the mid nap?
Yes. I mean, and in news,
that.
you kind of wake up and you check everything and you work a little bit. Then I like to do and then like to have some sort of activity outside the house, and then just all in preparation of that nap.
Gosh, I love that. I like that you have it planned out. Okay, how would you describe your managerial style?
I would describe this is an awkward one.
Why do people that work with you like you so much?
Oh, I don't know. I still haven't figured that one out. I really trust people, and I hire good people, and I trust that they will get the job done. I'm not a micromanager whatsoever.
I appreciate that.
I'm very much I hire you to do a job. You are going to do a good job. You are going to be better at your job than I would ever be. So I'm going to let you do it, and we will talk about things. But I defer to a lot of people that I work with every day just to kind of say, I'm trying to see if he agrees with me or not.
From the audience, do we have some agreement?
Yeah.
So. In case you didn't hear it, Micah does agree. When I was talking to the other person that asked me the same question, I was like, I feel like autonomy is going to play a role in that. So giving people some autonomy in what they're doing.
Well, because if you don't, I mean, that's the way when I came into journalism, I had a publisher that gave me a lot of room to run and room to create and and it just made me more passionate about what I was doing. And, you figure out things that you just have to figure out. And sometimes you make mistakes, but that's okay. I think one of the huge things nationwide that newspapers have struggled with is just not changing and not like being too much stuck in their same rut of we simply come to work, write a story, put it in the newspaper, deliver the newspaper, and we're done. And that model, the revenue model that we talked about a little bit earlier, it's just broken now. In 2020, that model doesn't exist. That's why 2,100 newspapers have closed since 2004 across this country, because that model doesn't work. And so you have to be creating, and while also print, drives a ton of our revenue still. So you have to be both serving our legacy audience and serving that customer that really, really loves reading the paper every day with the morning coffee. We're incredibly dedicated to that customer, but we're also at the same time transforming and finding new ways to reach everyone throughout each day and week. It's because everyone's different. Everyone consumes media differently, and so we're always trying to reach each of those people and each of those audiences, each of those communities in the way that they want to be reached. And I really don't care where you read what we produce or watch what we produce. I just want to make sure that it means something to you as a reader, and that you find value in that.
I can appreciate that.
I got on a soapbox for a second.
I really liked the media soapbox. It becomes you. You said something in there. I wrote so many notes. Oh, legacy audience.
Yes.
So kind of ticked off in my head. When I had not thought of it before, but that kind of is like you have your coffee, you get your paper from outside. I don't even know that people still do that anymore.
Tons of people do that.
You
want me to know? Do you want me to tell you how I know?
Yeah.
Because anytime we have a route that doesn't get delivered properly, or I get 1,000 phone calls.
You're like, this didn't happen.
So just when you
don't mess with people's morning routine.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people. There's a lot of people who only read print. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people, an extremely growing number of people that primarily use digital, and then there's a lot of people that kind of go back and forth throughout each day. They still like the routine of their morning, reading the paper, but they also will check their phone throughout each day and check to see any updates, any breaking news, anything like that.
I'm particularly fond of the emails I get throughout the day. This is happening. Have you read this?
Super popular.
Super popular.
Yeah. It's one of the most
popular one.
engaged ways that we communicate with our audience.
It's my favorite thing. It's like, hey, oh, I'm not supposed to touch you. I'm so sorry.
I'll wash my hands.
I'm sorry, me too. It's like, hey, did you know this thing happened in your community today? And it just makes me feel like I'm talking to people in the community all day long.
Yeah, we
Anyway.
we like that too. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like, yeah, I mean, it's been growing for the last 2 years. We started it right after we got here with probably 2,000 email addresses, and we have more than 35,000 today. So it's become really, really popular, and it's open to, I mean, people read it. We can see the metrics. People read it a lot.
Nice. Okay, so legacy audience, you're finding different ways. Those different ways are the videos that you're doing.
Yeah.
Podcast, and you have a whole podcast network.
Yeah, live events, podcasts, video, email, social.
Live events took a hit this year, unfortunately.
Live events are down. on the year over year, live events are not doing well. No, but I mean we've been doing virtual. We just did Best of Sumter last Thursday. We did it virtually for the first time.
How many people came to that? Do you know?
We had a couple hundred on the live show, and then we'll post it, and it'll get thousands more views.
I unfortunately missed it. I had something come up last minute, and I missed it, and so I can't wait to watch the recording. I'm trying not to look into the magazine because I want to watch. It's like if you have to record the Super Bowl, just don't listen to anybody until it airs.
It's like the
best of the event is my version of Super Bowl.
And that we met at Best of Sumter.
We did.
So that's right at 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
3, I think?
2 years ago, 3 Best of Sumters ago. That's what it was.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because we had the switch. I was about to count my dresses. I was like, I had the green dress and the black dress.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
That's how I count as well. I had my black tux and my blue tux, and then back to my black tux. That's it.
We supported some local businesses after those events too.
We did. Always supporting local.
I think that's more of how we got to know each other.
Probably.
This is a good time. Okay, so local events, watching the thing, especially the In Sumter Today that Kayla shoots, and then the podcast that you've got going on, the whole network, and
I mean,
there's something else you did.
I mean, we're doing email, we're doing social, we're doing a lot of contests. I mean, we're doing
Yeah.
a contest with Creech Whitey Watson, one with Galloway and Mosley. They've been really popular. So we're constantly just, and really we're just kind of open to anything that connects with the community and finding ways to connect our customers and our advertisers and bring them together and
That's the
serve
beauty
the
of
entire
that.
community.
That is the beauty of that. Like when you talked about the old model is that model's not here. The model that you're talking about today is just building this thing that everybody can come to. And once you build that platform, having advertisers support it. So you've collected all the people in one space.
Because we want to be part of your life. I mean, I think that's what it all boils down to.
I have a deep need, we all do, whether we realize it or not, to have something like that to bring us together. It brings us full circle back into a happier community.
Yeah, and a lot of people play. I mean, we're one of the louder voices in town just because we have subscribers and we have lots of people coming to our website every day. But there are a lot of people that are doing great jobs, and people always, ask me, do you not like? I love anybody who's trying to build community. I'm a big fan of anybody building community in any way, and we can make it work all together. And the more the merrier. We're welcoming at the item.
I love it. It's because I too love community.
Yes,
so
you do.
I'm a big fan. Okay, so that brings me to the big thing why I wanted you to come on this week.
Okay.
More money talk.
Okay.
Advertising. The old model is dead. We're back to the grant. I think you got a grant.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Saw what I did there?
we were on it. We're doing this. We're in this cohort at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and we were actually where we go and we talk to other newspaper leaders in the country. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution is in our group. The Greenville News, Asheville Citizen-Times. We've got a bunch of different newspapers, and so we were talking to them earlier today, and I forgot where I was going with that question.
I said, so you got a grant.
Yes.
And you were like, oh, yes, we're here to talk about the grant. And then you were telling me about the meeting that you had earlier today.
Mistakes and how they helped prepare you for the grant.
Oh, yeah. And thank you. That's exactly
Good
what
assist on the side.
Earlier I said, so we were talking to all of them, and earlier today, and I said in February, our take on Grant was like, who is Grant? Like, we just had never heard of, we had never applied for one. We had never thought about one very much. But what we do know is that media has continuously changed since I got into it, 13 years ago or so. So change has been the most constant thing in our lives in media. And so these Facebook came out and said, we are going to do a COVID-19 relief fund, Facebook Journalism Project. We're pumping money into local news for the basic reason, I think, that Facebook needs local news in a lot of ways to provide reliable information to local communities. And, we do a lot of posts on Facebook, but they need that to be part of the ecosystem. And, just being good community partners in journalism in general. And so we applied for this grant that they were giving away grants between $25,000 and $100,000. And we got a grant for $100,000, and we could.
Yes.
I know. We couldn't believe it. So it was only 4 newspapers or news organizations in South Carolina got any sort of grant through this.
Nice.
There were 144 organizations total in the country that got some sort of grant between $25,000 and $100,000, and there were more than 2,000 applicants. And so I think that equates to 7% or something like that got anything. Mm-hmm. And we were able to get something. I think they just saw what we were trying to do locally for this community.
I think it speaks to I'm going to champion the item over and over again, and how great this is. You have been, your team is the only team to be nominated twice for the Innovation Award, right?
Yeah.
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 So in media, and then to come back and then this grant be rolled out by a really awesome company like Facebook, and then be recognized in a big way. I think it's a big deal. I think people need to know. In Sumter, we have this gem of amazingness.
And frankly, as much as we love plaques, we really like checks. I mean, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, I feel for that. We, connect with that on a really big level.
Yeah. And so there's a little bit more news today.
Okay, tell us the more news.
The Google News Initiative gave us a grant as well. That's about to be publicly released.
Thanks. What are you going to do with all your grant monies?
We are going to put it right back into Sumter. And so we are going to continue to innovate in the way that we are producing the news. Mm-hmm. Geographically, we can do a better job reaching different areas within our communities. And so we're going to continue to do that. You're going to see more email newsletters. You're going to see more videos. You're going to see more podcasts, more articles, and kind of shaped in a different way. We're also going to do a magazine that reaches the entire region in Sumter, Lee, and Clarendon counties with COVID-19 news and resources, and some kind of not entertaining, but interesting aspects around the coronavirus. And
we innovated that fairly quickly.
We had to write it pretty quickly.
Yeah. I was like, that happened pretty fast.
We had a couple of days. Yeah.
That's super cool. And I think it goes to our conversation earlier about shopping local and that money coming straight back around, because you hire local people that live here and work here, and it just continues to cycle back.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, so it's a really important part of, that amount of money. Our staff's, 30 We've got low 30s and full-time employees, and so that matters a lot to us, and we'll be able to upgrade some of our equipment and
Nice.
better serve our community.
Cool. I want a plush velvet couch in this corner.
I think that was
With-
written in perfectly. I think we've got a fish tank in there as well.
A fish tank would be cool
Yeah.
back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've really always wanted one with a mini shark in it, maybe.
Yeah, with one of those stands that you put your cigarette in, like from the 70s. I've got a whole vibe that's come to mind.
That's not really in the grant proposal.
Yeah, I'm upset about it, actually. I built it up that fast, and I'm already upset. All right, cool. So the grant money, it's coming in. You're innovating new ways to communicate with all the people, and I'm excited to see what else you come up with. When's your COVID magazine come out?
Well, we have not. We have started on some elements of it,
Okay.
but we have not completely released it to the public. It's also,
Saturday?
Saturday for local advertisers.
Uh-huh.
So this is the first time we will ever be mail delivering, right, to the entire region, Sumter, Lee,
That's
and
really
Clarendon
cool.
counties. So that's a unique distribution angle that we've never had before. And we did that a couple of years ago with the school system. We now do the welcome guide for the Sumter School District,
Which I've given to clients as they move to town.
which you give to clients as they move to town. But the cool distribution system there is it goes in every kid's backpack on orientation day.
Love it.
And so we're constantly finding, advertisers are trying to reach different segments of readers. And I mean, we've got a huge overall reach, but different products kind of reach a different type of reader or a different group of readers. And this particular magazine will truly go in the mailboxes of everybody in Sumter, Lee, and Clarendon County, or at least that's the plan.
big. Was that a part of the Google grant?
That's part of the Facebook grant.
It's part of the Facebook grant. I was like, that's a big.
Yeah, I mean
Deal.
it was, but there are people in our county that still don't have internet or across
Right.
our region, and so we need to be. I find it to be a public service to be able to. Everyone needs that information.
Right.
I feel that deeply, and I feel that everyone needs to be informed and to have access to that information. We've made all of our coronavirus coverage free, all the public health side of it. And that is largely because I think there's a right to know, but I also think that there's a point where the community needs to value local news or has to value local news. And that's when we ask for, that's why we push so hard for subscriptions, because we need to be, we don't do any good for the community if we're not here. And in so many communities, just like Sumter, this local news source that you've had for 125 years just evaporated. And
Yeah.
and I'm so close to it because I've been in the industry, and so I read all these stories, but it's not different. And what's shocking in these communities like this is that you'll read the story after the news organization has gone away, and the whole community is in uproar. Like they feel like they have just been like, how could you possibly do this? We're not going to have any local news. It all mattered so much. And in those same articles, sometimes they will ask those, and it's usually community leaders, if were they a subscriber, and they just say no. And like that's the problem, because we're not a public service in the sense that we're not like the fire department or the police department or
Right.
the school system. We're a private business. And so that's why it's so important for people to subscribe and to support us, because it's not a given that
It
we're
truly
in
is
Sumter
a
forever.
unique industry.
Yeah.
In that I had not thought that deeply on the fact that you are kind of providing a public service, because having information centered in this community, fed back to this community at a big scale, is it's not free. You've got to fund it, and so you have to also be your own source of building that up and saying, hey, we do need you if we want to continue to provide this, we need you to subscribe.
And as the public, you don't want us to be funded by the government,
No.
because because you want us to be independent. You want us to be able to be watchdogs. You want us to be, we're just, and
Throw up the flag.
And anytime somebody complains, you missed a comma here, or you wrote this headline the wrong way, we're just people. We make our fair share of mistakes. Most of us did go to school for this, and so we shouldn't make mistakes. And we would say that to our staff, but we're still, we're going to make our fair share.
Yeah, I like it. The before the comment, I had something. So Micah was on before, and he threw out the phrase news deserts, and you talked just about you don't want this government funded, but you also don't want this great big corporate thing covering, oh my Lanta, you don't want this great big corporate thing covering just giant sections of the country. You want it right here.
So we're so lucky in the fact Sumter is so lucky. Regardless of anything that we've done, is Diet Coke's great, by the way.
Thanks, J.O. Grady's.
Of just having local news and to having the ownership local, because so many organizations like this are owned by giant hedge funds, and it has been shown throughout the country, not all the time. I'm not going to put a blanket statement, but it's cost a lot of journalists their jobs because they're trying to take profits out of the community and out of the company. And I don't want to get too, I don't want to be too hard on them, but I just want to say that we're really fortunate to have people that care about Sumter as our ownership for 125 years. There's not a lot of them left, not only in the state of South Carolina, but in the country.
I think the answer is pretty clear, but how do we continue to support the Sumter item?
Yeah, before it's too late. And, we've done some really cool things, and I feel like we're one of the better local newspapers in the state. And, I feel like we're doing really cool stuff. But we're still not we will never be out of the woods completely.
You have to continue to change and
it's
evolve.
just where journalism is. It's local news is. I talk to, dozens of local news leaders on a regular basis. No one is like
untouched by this.
In a way that they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. It was revenue. Sustainability was never words that they really talked about. And so that's really been a phenomenon in the last decade or maybe 2 decades as the advertising model has shifted, and it's been not only advertising focused but consumer focused, and now we're getting grants as well.
That's so good. So it's when you said 30 or 40 years ago and being untouched, it reminds me of also the local store, the local boutique, the local farm store, that these big box stores have come in and made things so easy and accessible. My dad's had this phrase forever, help me help you. And so when I see you innovating new ways of reaching people, I just see that as you helping us help you back. And I do want to subscribe. I, Sarah Jane, am never going to go out in my driveway and get the newspaper every morning. It's not going to happen. So helping me by sending me that email and making it easy for, this is really good content. The subscribe button is always right there for me to subscribe.
And you can get a digital subscription, and you can, pay us about what you pay Netflix every month. And I promise we care more about it than Netflix does.
Yes. And it's what you said earlier, you care about providing a value. Just like the COVID magazine, the subscriptions and everything help provide that service back to the community so that we're all safer and happier.
And we do focus a lot. I think in journalism, a lot of it is about, we're going to protect and we're going to be watchdogs. And that's an important part about journalism. But I think the part that gets lost sometimes is that community aspect. And that's really what we focus a lot of our focus. That's what a lot of our focus is on every day at the item.
Well, thank you. Did you want to say anything else about the newspaper?
Subscribe to the newspaper.
Anything
advertise in the newspaper?
Advertise and subscribe in the newspaper. And I think we have just a few more minutes. I'm not, my time? Yeah, we got some time. Because I want to circle back around and ask you personal questions. Get excited.
I just started sweating.
I saw it happen. How'd you get involved in the newspaper? Why did you decide, like, yeah, I want to be involved in some kind of journalism, print media?
I was a broadcast journalism major in college, and I jumped out. I just decided that it would be something that I could do. And when you're young, you don't have like your whole life planned. You just kind of get into something.
That seems cool.
You just need a job, and you're just kind of like, oh, what can I do? And so you look on the internet for a job after you graduate college, and so I found a job in Statesboro, Georgia, as a videographer, and so I wasn't any.
Who knew?
Yeah, and so I started producing a bunch of shows for Georgia Southern football. I did.
Can we find these shows on the internet?
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna look them up later.
Probably. And so that started my career, and then just moved on. Went and ran the digital side of a newspaper in north of LA for a few years before I was named publisher in Georgia, North Georgia.
You were just hanging out in North LA, kicking it, doing some media?
Yeah, just hanging out. About
How long
Santa
were you
Clarita.
over there?
2.5, 3 years. And so
many things I don't know about you, Vince.
you really didn't know that?
I feel like I knew you were in LA, but I didn't know you were. I just thought it was like one of those in between college and real life things.
No,
I hadn't asked any further questions. I'm sorry.
No, I worked out there. There are two things that you want me to tell you the two things that I really remember from LA?
Yeah.
So the first
Unless
thing.
it's illegal.
So the first thing, the biggest story that I covered out there was a really sad story. It was when Paul Walker died. So he died like less than a mile away from my apartment.
Oh my gosh.
In the city where we were covering the news. And so it was obviously a huge story, and it was right after Thanksgiving. I'll never forget it. And so our publisher was out of town, and so I was kind of in charge of making the decisions on whether it ran or not and how it ran. And I just remember getting a call from one of the reporters and saying, we didn't know if it was real. We didn't know there was rumors that it was a hoax. But it ended up being, just terrible. But it's something that, we published it, and TMZ published it right after us, which was in LA. That was a big deal because.
Dang, you published it before TMZ?
I mean, so it's such a weird thing. Like when you're like excited about like publishing something that's that terrible. So I tell people all the time, it just works your mind in weird ways because it's not fun, it's not exciting, but it's also
it's an achievement in your field, even though it's not a positive.
Yeah. So that was super memorable, and just the days that followed, just constant coverage. And then the second thing, you know this really well,
okay,
that I did in LA was The Price is Right.
Oh yes, the mustard pants. And you want a car?
I want a car on The Price is Right.
And I watched that video, and I feel like that we should link that video up when we do.
I'm not sure that video passes copyright law, so we will not put it in the video that is on the Sumter Item website.
If you can find it on YouTube, you can link it anywhere. Is my personal rule. Follow me on Facebook. I will post.
Sarah Jane
no
can share it on her own social media pages. But yeah, I was wearing bright red pants and jumping around like a crazy person.
Man,
it was fun though.
I tried really hard to get you to pretend like you were a newscaster, a sports newscaster earlier. I feel like you're not going to do it for us.
What, jump up and down like I want a car on The Price is Right? You are correct. I'm not doing that.
Okay, so you're in LA, you're named publisher, you come back to Georgia.
Yeah.
And everything is just peachy pie?
Yeah, so that's when I met up with these folks, with Micah and Kayla, and hired Micah about a month after I started. We'd been longtime family friends, and then Kayla came in about, 6 months or a year later, and we just got everything started getting everything rolling a little bit. And so we got some video going, and since I started in video, that's one thing that we've added everywhere that I've ever been, because we've always been, and I've always been, in markets that did not have a local television station. And so a video component is in my mind, pretty natural to a local news organization.
Yeah, I never thought about that being something that would need to not exist for it to bring about more opportunity.
Because none of these communities that I've lived in, including Sumter, have been particularly small. They're big enough to support local. You want to see people locally. I mean, you want to see what people are doing in your area. Like an hour away is not local. So that's what we did that for a few years, and then the Osteens called me and said, "Do you want to come to Sumter?" And said, "All right, let's do it."
Had you seen Sumter before you moved here?
I had seen Sumter.
Okay, very good.
I had come
say
here.
that because I know somebody in the group had not. They were just like, "And here's my bags."
I had come to Sumter. I lived in hotels for about a month out on Broad Street, and that was not my favorite time. But we eventually.
Well, it's never.
moved
I
here.
don't care where you are, what
Moving's
hotel
not
you're
fun.
in. If you have to live there, I don't care if it's the Four Seasons. If you have to live in it for a month, loses its appeal altogether.
Yeah, the hotels themselves were great. It was
Nobody wants to.
Yeah, nobody likes to live there.
Okay, so a couple more questions. I'm very excited to embarrass you with some of these. Why are you so handsome?
Next question.
Okay, if you were to pass away and be reincarnated as an animal, which do you think it would be?
Oh my gosh. That's I don't know, a dog, right?
A dog is a good one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what that means. But we're just gonna keep going. I like dogs.
Okay, cool.
Wiener dogs.
If you could make it pro in any professional sport, which would it be?
Ooh, the answer is either golf or baseball. Which one would I rather? So I grew up playing baseball in high school. I liked golf a lot when I got to cover the Masters for 9 years. So, and I'm just a big golf fan. So the answer is golf because you can play it longer and you can play golf your entire life and there's not too much wear and tear in baseball either, but not too much wear and tear on.
I feel like there's a decent amount of wear and tear in baseball.
Well, there's some, but not like football.
Not like football.
Or even basketball.
But golf definitely takes it
golf,
way down.
I mean,
that's
we're
a
not
no
looking to,
contact sport.
Yeah, we're not looking to overexert ourselves here.
Golf didn't have to quit. Golf could have made it through COVID.
Yeah,
they could have social
They
distanced.
played golf this weekend, and they did a little social distancing. But yeah, it keeps going.
Okay, cool. That's all my questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't too hard.
No, not too hard. I am glad I got to make you turn red a couple times, though.
Yes, thank you.
Did you want to point out anything about Sumter or the newspaper or anything else before we go?
No, I mean we're just honored to be here and honored to be a part of this community, and we love Sumter, and we will continue to try to give back to it as much as we can.
I think it shows, and we really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I want to speak for everybody here.
Thank you, Sarah Jane.
No problem. Thank you for tuning in and for hopefully sharing this video. Thank you to J. O'Grady's for providing refreshing Diet Coke today. They are open. You can do curbside if that's more comfortable, but they also have outdoor seating and they've socially distanced the seats inside. And then F45. Thank you so much for powering us here at In Sumter with Sarah Jane. They are open. They only have 10 slots per workout class. So you've got to download the app, register for the class, and then you can go. If you're not going to go, please, please, please cancel. That way another person can get into that class because they are only allowing 10 people into the gym at the same time. Anyway, thank you so much. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.
See y'all.
Cool. Way to go, man. Way to go.
You're really good at that.
Who is?
You.